We're going to talk about managing facilities in a hybrid world. This is going to be a big challenge for me because usually I am very mobile when I do presentations, and I think I need to stick here by this microphone for the recording. So we'll give that a shot. However, what we are going to do is there is going to be some definite discussion time and interaction from the audience so that you all are not falling asleep and you're actually learning from each other a bit as well. Here are our learning objectives this morning. I know that these are important for you who are doing continuing education. We're going to understand the key challenges and advantages associated with the different options out there for managing your people, right? Whether you have gone after the pandemic, if you've gone all the way back to return to office, if you are still fully remote, or if your group is a hybrid group, and then what impact that has on your facilities. I'll tell you a little bit about our organization in a moment, but we are a hybrid organization. We have two facilities, one in Los Angeles and one in Detroit, that are necessary for us to be open all the time. We cannot send those people home. However, we also have a hybrid, a remote work staff as well. So we're a very unique example, and we'll talk about that, about how we've gone through all of these different phases and the advantages and challenges we've noticed with each. We're going to talk about some new tools and technologies, specifically virtual office spaces. Has anyone here heard of a virtual office space before? When I say virtual office space, do you know what I'm talking about at all? Well, then everyone's going to learn something here today. That's going to be good. You're going to learn about a virtual office space. I don't sell these virtual office spaces. I am not a salesperson for the tool that I am going to be showing you. I want to make sure that is very clear. We actually use this tool, and it's been a huge benefit to us. And so that's why we are sharing it. I don't get a cut. I don't own stock. Nothing. We're just sharing it, and I'll tell you guys what we do in a moment. We will evaluate the potential impact of work model changes on facility managers. So whether everyone is back returned to office, whether you're in a hybrid model or whether you're remote, what are some of the impact of those work changes on your day-to-day roles? And also, we'll discuss the role that you will have in supporting and enabling different work models in your organizations. And I will go ahead, and I'm not going to bury the lead here. My suggestion is that you all familiarize yourself with this virtual office technology and consider if it'll work for your locations, or at least have an understanding of it, so that you all can position yourselves to be the group to manage these virtual facilities if that is the case. That is how we have it. Our same group that manages our physical facilities manages our virtual facility. So we don't have that as an IT function because they don't understand some of those unique things that we want in a virtual space. And I'm going to repeat this again just to be very clear. I am not employed by Gather, which is the virtual office tool that I am showing you. I don't own stock in the company. I don't get a cut. None of those things. Simply, we use the tool, and we think it's amazing. It's made huge differences for our organization. I was turned onto this conference by our PR group, who said it would be really amazing just to share this as a benefit to you all. I've done this presentation. Usually, it's to other groups like IT asset disposition groups and things like that. So here's our agenda. I think we've covered this a little bit already, as far as we're going to talk about managing facilities across those different work models, some different success stories and practices that our organization has seen from using this tool. We'll actually spend time in the tool. I have the virtual office loaded. We are going to go in there. We're going to all walk around together, and I am going to pick one unsuspecting employee in our office. I'm going to walk up on them and start a conversation. They don't know that they're going to be speaking to about 50 people this morning, but that'll be fun for them. And then, like I mentioned, we'll talk about the role of facility managers in this hybrid world, and then we'll do some questions and answers as well. Who am I? Who is speaking to you today? Who are you speaking with? I am a nationally recognized expert on e-waste and IT asset disposition. That is what our firm does. We are the nation's largest nonprofit technology disposition provider. So what that means is we take in used technologies from organizations like yourselves. We repurpose it, refurbish it, get it back onto the hands of people who need it. We are the largest group in the nation that does that, and we also are the nation's largest digital inclusion practitioner as a result. So all those computers that we give out, this service that we provide, any profits that we receive from it, go back to getting people connected to the internet, getting them digital literacy training, and those types of things. And so I joined Human IT, that nonprofit firm that I am referring to, in 2019. I've led a number of our different different departments over the years, which has given me a really unique understanding of our business. Prior to Human IT, I worked for a Fortune 100 firm as a continuous improvement expert for 5 years. And I'm from the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Do we have any Wisconsin folks in here? All right, very good, very good. Any Midwest folks? Any other Midwest folks? Where's everybody from? Let's see, do we have some California people? That's where I live now. Okay, any other West Coast folks? What about the East Coast? A lot of East Coasters here? Okay, where are the rest of you from? The South? We got some Southerners? Terrific. I've made my way all over the country, love all of it, and would appreciate having conversations with you all about where you're at. But we're talking about facilities today on a scale of 1 to 5. And I do want to hear from everyone, and this is where I start to move around, so sorry on the microphones. On a scale of where are you at? How prepared do you feel your organization is to effectively manage facilities in a hybrid environment? So, I'm going to throw them up here, and we'll do a show of hands. Who thinks you're at a 5? You're totally ready to go. Nobody, 0. Okay, that's not good. That should probably be in red. That's going to be right there. All right, who's at a 4? Okay, we've got a few folks who are at a 4, maybe about 4 or 5 or so. Who's at a 3? Okay, let's call that 30-ish or so, okay. What about 2? Anyone down at a 2? A few people, yeah, maybe let's call that about 7 or 8. And then a 1. Who's down at a 1? Maybe I should have started with 1, maybe we would have more people out. Okay, maybe like a 2. Okay, so for these folks, you're going to learn a lot today. These maybe a little bit less. Hopefully, we're going to be able to transition your companies over time to a 5. And this presentation is not going to get you all the way there, but it should be a start. I've lost my presentation. As I'm getting this loaded, we're going to actually do the next part of the activity is to break into groups. So very serendipitous here. We're going to break into groups of about 6 or so. You can just do that in the clumps that you're in. And what you're going to do is you're going to discuss, as you all dealt with return to office after the pandemic, right? Everyone kind of had to go home during the pandemic. You were forced to maybe some folks were facilities, maybe you were stayed open, maybe you were an essential business and your facility stayed open during the pandemic. How did you as facility managers and how did your organization respond to return to work? And what are some of the challenges that you have dealt with in this maybe new hybrid world that you're dealing with? So that's the key question is, what are some of the challenges that you've dealt with as facility managers post-pandemic with the transition to facilities? So just break into little clumps of 6 and then try to maybe write down 1 or 2 of the answers, and we'll have one of your folks share that with the rest of us here. So who wants to share? What were some of the challenges that you have all faced? What's some of the things that you dealt with?
Government, municipalities. But anyway, we got hacked in the start of COVID. There's a very good talented team, cybersecurity experts, I would say. We got hacked and we almost lost quite a bit of money, but the end result was the hackers made a mistake on their account number. We sent the wire the money out, but the account number on the other end was wrong, so it didn't calculate back the goods. But they were able to get it on email, make penetration tests. Like I said, we have very, very talented people on our team, but we were still able to get hacked. And I have to say, I got hacked the other day, and so my colleague was, "What are you doing?" Busted my chops a little bit. It happens. You're on an iPhone, you're on your phone, and you're clicking, you're looking at it. We're all in a fast-paced environment because of technology, and we do make mistakes. I'm very, very aware of it. I got hacked, it came back to me, so I got
Definitely. And that's a challenge, right? So when everyone went from being in facilities to all of a sudden you have a lot more people remote, there's a lot more work that's being done virtually, which opens up more of your work to the potential for cybersecurity attacks. A definite challenge there to consider. What else? What are some other challenges that you all have dealt with?
to give up their desks because they're there 2 days a week now. So how do you manage, giving them the freedom to work from home, but also now we have all the space we want to be able to flex and use, but no one wants to give them.
The similar problem? Okay. Seems to be kind of consistent. Anyone have a good solution for that? What have you guys done?
The days that you come in, the hotel space is reserved for you, so for your team. So they can come in, they can still work together, I can't think of the words, correspond with each other, collaborate, and they can work like they would if they were in the office at their own desk in their own areas. Old, but it's just a space that we've designated for those people that come in just 1 or 2 days a week.
Yeah, so sharing desks, hoteling them, having those reservations. That's a possibility. What are some other challenges you all have dealt with? Obviously, that consolidation of space is a big one, right? People want to have their things at their desk. Yeah, it's a challenge. We get emotional about that, right? Their trophies and their diplomas and different things, pictures of their kids and pets and all that stuff. What else? What are some other challenges?
I think some challenge may also give you, say the younger guys, younger people, they feel that they're more effective from home, and I'm kind of old school, like I don't think you're effective at home. And how do you quantify how effective you really are? If you're working, you're on the clock, you need to be answering your phone, you should be bringing your dog to the vet. And I think a lot of that happens. Maybe in sales because you're hunter-gatherer, and if you're in sales and you have to put money on the table. But certain organizations aren't set up that way. So it's very difficult to judge how effective employees are. Younger generations are going to say they're very, very more effective. I hear that all the time. But you're not more effective. To me, it's impossible to be more effective. I think collaboration, I think being on site is important. But I do think remote working, flex time is fair as well.
Yeah. Definitely. What anyone else have that same kind of different generations wanting maybe to be remote, or different generations maybe wanting to be in the office? Anyone else dealing with a similar issue? Okay, some folks. Let me get just a show of hands, just so we know what we're working with. How many here manage facilities that are 100% in person? You don't have any remote employees. 100% in person. Okay, we've got some folks. How many people manage 100% remote operations? Nobody. That'd be probably pretty weird, right? What about hybrid? How about folks that have hybrid? You've got some remote and some otherwise. Yeah, that becomes a big challenge, right? Some departments, we have our folks that are in our facilities that are actually doing the work on the electronics that we take in. There has to be someone physically there to wipe those, to refurbish them. That's not a job that you can do remotely, right? And so we have some departments that are 100% facility-based, right? They're 100% on-site. And then we have some departments that are, to your point, like our sales department, who you either produce or you don't. They're 100% remote, and we can hire those people all over. Yeah.
I think the that we have these days, like Microsoft Teams, like Zoom, those are good tools, and they've been useful, but they are not a substitute for a group setting.
Yeah, agreed. A huge challenge during post-pandemic, when we did have to send a lot of folks home, and we had, our facilities luckily were deemed to be essential businesses. We were able to keep those open. However, our other staff had to work from home. We dealt with that same issue. I managed a 20-person sales team. I had no idea what they were doing all day, right? You try to look at their Google Calendar. Maybe there's nothing in there. You're trying to look at emails. You're trying to chase down, is this person taking the dog to the vet or doing their laundry or whatever else the case is. And it can be a real challenge and to that blind spot. Yeah. Yeah. How do you measure performance for remote employees, right? I would say, similarly, we do it obviously through activity measures and results, right? Your activities, if someone is doing the right kind of leading activities, those will lead to results. And so we then measure someone's leading activities and then, of course, look at the results from those. And that's just what you have to kind of, what we found that we have to do with our remote staff is to really look at that. It gets really difficult for staff that don't have those really tangible KPIs, right? Like an HR team, a little bit more amorphous of what they're doing during the day, not how many calls you're making or emails you're sending or meetings you're taking. It's kind of hard to measure on them on that, so that's a big challenge. Anyone else here deal with that challenge as well, as far as how do you measure the productivity of remote staff? Yeah.
I think it's really easy to say that people are going home and they're walking their dog and they're doing laundry and watching TV and doing that. But here's the thing: when I work from home, I wake up at the same time, I'm logged on 30 minutes or 45 minutes earlier than I'd be if I, went into work. I don't have a 30-minute commute. So yeah, I do sprinkle stuff into the day, but if I look at the overall productivity that day, I'm less distracted, I have fewer people interrupting me, I'm able to do head down focus work a little bit better. The lack of collaboration can sometimes be really difficult, but truthfully, I can be more productive sometimes from home. I also can be more distracted sometimes from home. I think there's a lot of gray area there, but I think just kind of automatically assuming that someone's less productive at home versus screwing around when they're at home is, I think that's a little bit, I don't think it's black and white.
Yeah, and I think that's a good sentiment across the board, right? Even in this room, I think we've got some differing opinions on the value and productivity of remote versus hybrid work. I see a lot more hands in the air. Let's hold those for a second. I'm going to move a little bit further through this. Hopefully we can we'll continue this conversation. So I think we've spoke a lot about some of the advantages and challenges to the return to office, right? You have more control over the facilities. You have more predictable maintenance and usage as far as how often folks are going to be coming in, how often folks are going to be using certain desks. If you have hotel desks that certain teams are coming in at certain times, you can have some predictable maintenance and usage there. But if you just have an office where people are allowed to come and go as they please, some days that office may be very full, and some days, like on Friday, I bet that place is very empty. That's what we had dealt with when we did something similar. Employee engagement spaces, right? If you're all in the office, it's easy to collaborate. You have areas to do that. You even have maybe like a lunchroom or something on site where people can eat food together and do those kinds of different things. Some of the challenges, of course, capacity management, increased operational costs. Bringing everyone back in, you've got to have all that space. And then there's some health and safety challenges with that as well. We also spoke about some of the advantages and challenges to remote work. You do have that reduced overhead, you do have flexibility in your space design, and you can really focus on your critical infrastructure. So those facilities that you really do need to have that are essential to be in person, you can focus on those by having some folks at home. Challenges can be an underutilization of space, right? If the more people you're sending out, if you've already got those spaces, they're going to be underutilized. And we also spoke to the security management challenge, right? The more virtual work that you have going on, the more chance there is for cybersecurity attacks. And then hybrid work, which is a little bit of a combination of both. You get some of the best of both worlds from an advantage standpoint, as far as some of that optimized space usage. However, that's a bigger challenge to understand. Hey, are we setting up a hoteling situation? Who's coming in on what day? What technology do we need to be able to use so that we don't have some people coming into an office just to take Teams or Google Meets with people who are at home and everyone's just sitting on a screen in the office all day anyways? Are we actually having that face-to-face collaboration? So it adds a lot of complexity, right? Have you all experienced that? For those of you in a hybrid space, maybe you weren't hybrid before, do you agree that there's additional complexity to hybrid versus being all in the office? See some nodding of heads, okay? Well, this is how we solved the problem, is we implemented a virtual office. So we have, as I mentioned to you, as a refurbisher of technology, we have to have our two facilities in Los Angeles and Detroit open 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. Otherwise, our company would go under. And so it's very critical that we have those facilities going. However, we were also able to reduce down our office space, save on those costs, and start hiring people across the country when we went to remote work for some of our teams and departments. And we saw some good productivity there, but there was a bit of a challenge of just understanding where people were, what they were doing during the day. And so we implemented this virtual office, which kind of solves for that, and it allows you to exist in a hybrid space. So we started using a virtual office tool, Gather. There's other virtual office tools that you can use. We started using this virtual office tool in October of 2023. We first started it with just our remote employees. It was a small group of about 20 of us who were using this. We started with our senior leaders, and slowly we expanded out and we expanded out. Now all of our, we actually have more than 185 employees now, but all of our 185 employees across the nation and Mexico all perform their functions from this space. This includes our fully in-person, our remote, and our hybrid employees. So our production workers, they are on their, each one of them has a computer where they do their work, right, where they enter in their information. They'll work on a piece of hardware. They'll document that into a computer system. Every one of them has the virtual office up in their space so that if, for instance, one of our senior leaders wanted to directly go interact with someone, I'm based in outside of Los Angeles. If I want to go talk to a warehouse employee in Detroit, I can just walk up on their space. I don't need to call them. I don't need to find a Google Meet. And I can see whether or not they're at their desk or not, which is really useful. I can see if they're working because they will be green. And if they stop working, they will go red, which is really nice to be able to observe. I'm going to skip over that slide. We're actually going to go back to this slide, and I'm going to dive right into a live presentation of the space so you all can see what a virtual office space looks like. I was told to stay near the podium. So you can see my character is actually a little pumpkin for Halloween here. So this is right here, what you are seeing is this is our lobby to our human IT area. You can see it's all decorated for Halloween. You can see India just ran by at the top of our screen. What time is it right now? It is about 9 a.m. So that means our business development team has just started huddling. They meet all of our employees from our business development team all across the country. They meet all together every morning in this virtual office space and huddle, just the same way that a team would collaborate face-to-face. And what happens is, it's like a Microsoft Teams or a Google where all of the faces and everything is there, but you have this physical avatar that you can see. I can move around, and I can interact with things. For instance, if you were to be invited into our space, you would appear in this lobby, you'd be able to interact with this message, and you can see people are walking past me right here because I'm in the lobby and people are going to different meetings. So I'm gonna just navigate this space a little bit here, and we're gonna, I don't know what I just did there. Okay. We are gonna walk to my desk here, so you can see we've got elevators that can take you to either this is our hybrid space, so this is where all of our fully remote departments work from. Has anyone ever played like Pokemon or like the old Zelda games? Does this maybe remind you of any of those things? I'll zoom in a little bit here so you can see this is my desk here. I call it the piano in paradise. So you've got, you can decorate your own desk. You can see other people have decorated their desk differently. You can see we've got some fun characters here for Halloween, and you can modify and change your avatar, which is really interesting. So it's got a lot of these fun and neat little features, right? But here's the real meat of it. So right here you can see I see all the participants. I can see Aaron is interacting with James at James's desk. You can see that's actually happening right here. I can see Claudia and Steve are talking. I can see in the plant room we've got the business development huddle is happening. And for any of my folks who aren't in meetings, here's where they all are. Whether you are located in Los Angeles, Detroit, New York, Florida, you're right here. And if you're green, I know you're working. You can set yourself as well to do not disturb, which means Jake here is on our Digital Equity Center showroom floor. So he's now communicated to the organization, hey, I'm working here today. However, I'm out on the showroom floor, so if you need me, you're gonna have to wait till I'm back off the showroom floor. And people can communicate then where they are, whether they're at their desk or at their somewhere else. And so then this solves that challenge of, hey, for those remote employees, do I know if they're at their desk or not? This really helps solve for that, because if someone is green, I would expect to be able to walk up onto them and have a conversation with them. They should be at their desk, and it should be able to speak to them. So I'm going to pick on someone here today, and let's pick on Adam today. Let's try to throw Adam a little bit here. Let's try to ring him. Adam does not know that I'm coming to talk to him right now with 50 people. And if Adam doesn't answer, we'll go to Christina. And this is how it works. So now I've got questions. Is Adam actually at his desk? If I'm Adam's, oh, here he is. Adam, can you hear me? Oh, I need to turn myself, oh, here we go. I should probably turn myself off of mute so he knows that I'm actually here. Hey, Adam, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
How you doing?
Good. What's going on?
Well, you happen to be, I'm doing a presentation this morning. You happen to be on the line with about 50 or maybe 60 people or so. I was just showing them how Gather works, and I wanted to pick an unsuspecting individual.
I'm certainly unsuspecting.
Thanks, Adam. I appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks.
And so that's how it works, right? You can go up on someone's desk, you ring them, you talk to them, they are there able to have a conversation and collaborate in real time. We have used this extensively where we have like open working spaces. You can see down here, if I walk onto this picnic table, now it opens up a room where anyone else sitting at this picnic table can also interact with me in this space. So this allows for real-time communication, real-time collaboration across the country in a virtual office, and it doesn't require you to get on someone's calendar, deal with someone's executive assistant, put it into a Google Meet, and your calendar doesn't just become filled with these little 10, 5, 15-minute meetings. There's actual organic collaboration that happens. And as you can see, as you're walking from place to place, you can literally bump into people in the halls, where you'll run into people in the halls and have conversations like you would in an actual office space. What do you guys think? What are your thoughts about the virtual office? What are some initial impressions of our space?
It's pretty cool. It's very calm and quick talk. What about the people who are on site?
Yeah, let's go hang out with some of those people that are on site. No, so the people on site, every one of our people that are on site has a workstation, and they may move around the facility, but they do ultimately have one workstation. So if they are at that station, if they're doing work at their station, then they would be green. But you can see if someone is then going to hit the floor, they usually switch themselves to do not disturb, and then they'll say, hey, I'm walking the floor, or I'm doing an activity in another department. And so here, this is actually our Los Angeles facility here. It's got more of like a beach theme than our other facility. Let's pick on Bernaldo. Bernaldo is not expecting this either. Bernaldo is a data security supervisor for us, and we'll see if Bernaldo is at his desk. What else? What are some other initial impressions as we wait for Bernaldo to answer? No, but you could. Yeah. I mean, you might be able to. Typically, people have just like one desk in here, and that's just your home desk. Because it's a virtual space, you have that unlimited. Now I think I've learned something today. That's actually a really good idea, because what you could do is essentially if you made the virtual space identical to your actual space, then people would be able to walk in and claim desks for the day. Yes, that could happen. Yep. Because you can just like, I can, to your point, like I can, do we have an open desk somewhere that I can just, like I can just claim this desk and now I'm sitting there. Yep. So now I've learned something today too. I'm gonna have to change my presentation. Yeah.
We'll talk about Finder Sheet later.
Yeah, for sure. Sign in. You just don't come into the office. That's what we use like our typical calendars for. It communicates whether or not someone is out of office or not. There may be extensions that we aren't running between calendars to show if someone's in or out of office, but that's not what we need. Yeah.
You just have it always open, like on your monitor, like you have your two monitors. Their monitor typically have like Teams or something like that. Would this take the place of that? So you just kind of have it or something like that.
Yeah. Do that, I usually just like, I'll just minimize it down. And then if someone talks to me, I'll get that ring. Or what will happen is I will just pull it up and then move around the space. But I do know some people that just leave it open on the side there. I don't like to do that because I can find it like distracting as people are just like, because people walk around, right? Then there's a lot of movement often by my desk as well. Yeah. So we actually do internal meetings in this tool. And so you can see my Google Calendar is right here. If I click it the right way. There it is. My Google Calendar is right here. You can see where am I today, hanging out with all of you. But you can see later today, there is, Aaron. Hi, Aaron. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you? Where you at?
Well, I'm doing a presentation right now. You're online with about 60 people or so. I am showing them how Gather works. So this is actually a really great random collision to show the folks how it works.
Awesome. Well, have a great day, everyone. See you later, Charles. Bye.
We'll talk to you soon, Aaron. And so you can see that's how it works. Aaron, I'm green. I'm available. I'm at my desk. He's working. He's here. He's available. I need to go talk to him. Let me just go run up on him and talk to him. I had no idea he was going to do that. He probably actually needs something. We'll figure that out later. But that's how it works. And so you can see I'm just sitting here doing my thing, and he'll come up and be able to collide on me. He doesn't need to get into my calendar, see if I'm available, do any of those things, which is really neat. Yeah. Yes. They get it. Someone tried to ring them or that they missed a meeting request. Yep. And so you can see here I've got the, on my computer, this isn't my computer, on my computer we have the Chrome extension, but you can see here, it doesn't have my calendar up here, but it has my calendar here where I can actually, it will take me directly to the location of that meeting when I have it. So if that meeting is at like that picnic table or in a different room or a different area, I'll just click the meeting and it'll take me directly there. And you can have rooms from 2 people to hundreds of people, and we've got an all hands space. I'll just take us over there. This all hands space on our rooftop actually holds our entire group. So we can come into this space here. You can see the entire group now can hear me, and there's even like a microphone here I can speak at. And so we can have all hands meeting in a virtual space. We don't have to like reserve a room, get everybody together. It's just ready to go right there. Cool. I'm going to keep moving us forward. I'm going to actually leave. Leave the gather space though. It is not being recorded by default. However, there is a record option in the tool. So if you want to record a meeting or an interaction, you can do that, but it does not record by default. Yep. Great. I am going to leave the gather space so someone doesn't think I'm working and then walks up on me expecting to be able to interact with me. Just based on time, we're not going to split back up into our groups. We're just going to maybe do this conversation and discussion as a larger group. So, what do you think? What do you think after you've seen a virtual office space? How do you think that would impact your facility management processes. What kind of benefits do you see, and what are some of the challenges you see as far as if your group were to implement a similar tool?
Microsoft Teams does not, other than this cute interface, which I'm not convinced there's value.
With Teams, are you able to just walk up onto someone and start that conversation? Just click them and they open up? Okay. Can Teams bring, and I don't know, I haven't really used Teams that much. There is the interface, as you mentioned. There's the ability to walk up onto people. I think there's also, I don't know if Teams can have that all hands meeting as far as everyone meeting all together like that as well. But so maybe there's some of the things that Teams does as well. Might be a similar thing that solves for some of the same challenges. Yeah. What else?
So how do you deal with like the intergenerational? Obviously, you're millennial, your job is 100%. Gen X, if you have boomers, if you have even older in your C-suite, what does that look like when it comes to adoption?
Yeah. Great question. To be transparent, most of our organization is millennial or younger, just based off of the nature of what we do. We do have some Gen Xers, we do have some boomers. Similar to any other piece of technology, there's going to be that change curve, there's going to be that learning curve. We understand that and expect that. By just really bringing people along is something that we did, as far as like we just do it hands-on, show people exactly how it works. That tour, like I gave you all, we give to every single person. It's not just, hey, here you are, and gather, but we walk everyone around the space, we show them all the tools and the functionality, and make sure that they understand how to use it. Yeah, great question. We do have a gentleman he does move around a lot. But some of them say a bit more in their desk. I mean, I say in my desk often, just because I don't have things I'm typically interacting with folks from Los Angeles or Detroit on, but like our operations and HR leaders, they're constantly running around the space. Yeah, great question. We just have a company culture expectation that if you are at your desk, that you're available and that you're green, unless you are working on maybe something that's a particular piece of deep work or something, and then we actually have focus booths in this space. You're expected to move to that focus booth and then set yourself as do not disturb. And you set a status as far as what you're working on, so people are clear. Okay, Charles is in the focus booth. He's working on this particular grant. We'll know when he's finished with that. When people just use the restroom, they just do a quick be right back or a do not disturb or whatever, and then come back. No, there is no restroom graphic. That would be a whole new can of worms. How many do you build? That's the question. Yeah. So yes, no, none of that in there. But yeah, some challenges, right? Some definite challenges, some benefits and some challenges. Everything has some significant trade-offs. But let's talk about your roles with these changes. Yeah, go ahead. I mean, someone will just come, like Aaron will just come to my desk. No one knows what we're talking about, and we don't have it like written down as far as like so-and-so's performance or whatever. So that ends up becoming private meetings by default because people are going over to each other's desks. Like we saw James and Aaron speaking there at James's desk. I have no idea what they were talking about, and James and Aaron may be at each other's desks 3 or 4 times throughout the day. So there's no real way to know what were they talking about or what have you. So by a default, any kind of meeting that happens at someone's desk is pretty private. Now, if there's like some HR thing, obviously we just take that totally offline, right? That just becomes a separate conversation. We did initially, right? Anytime you implement a tool like this, you're showing people statuses and all that, people are gonna be like, oh, they're watching me. But we don't use it as a punishment tool. Right? We've just set the culture of how to use it, how to interact, but people aren't getting punished because you're on do not disturb too much or anything. And so because we aren't using it to scold or to punish or to slap hands, we don't say to people like, oh, you were away and gather 3 out of 4 days this week, therefore you're getting a write-up. We don't use it like that. Therefore, that helped build the trust because nobody's afraid if I'm not using this tool right, I'm going to get in trouble. It becomes just like, hey, I'm just going to follow the rules. And again, because a lot of our demographic does trend younger, especially in our facilities, they play games and stuff all the time anyway. So this was just a fun thing. They get the tchotchkes problem is solved for because you get to personalize your own desk. And so some of that they saw as a benefit because they aren't able to personalize things in the physical space. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, great question. I mean, the thing is we just have it in the background. So people aren't like, if you're not going to be very successful at your job if you're sitting there watching who's meeting with who all day. That's obviously going to be a pretty big challenge. It does solve for, though, if you're a leader and if you're concerned that maybe two people are talking too much, you're able to see if that is happening. And so it kind of solves for the problem of like, hey, if you've got a couple of employees who are maybe commiserating too much between departments or causing problems like that, you're able to see how often they're interacting and maybe who those folks are, right, that are having those conversations. I mean, we don't have an issue, like we don't have that issue. So maybe if you guys do have issues where certain things are trying to be kept private, you know, that might be an issue. But we have a really transparent culture, right, where our most senior leadership team is in this, and you can see who they're meeting with and talking with throughout the day as well. And so because everything is transparent, then there's really a lack of need for privacy from our organization because you're just not able to track who's meeting. Yeah, no one can, like, if I'm having a private conversation with someone at my desk, nobody can else like walk up into that. That's a locked space. So no one knows what we talked about. People know that we were talking, but we don't have that issue where like we're concerned about, oh, so-and-so knows that these other two people were talking. It's just not a concern of ours as from a privacy issue. But the role of facility managers in this, right? So typically you all manage physical spaces. Do any of you manage a virtual space or virtual spaces? So our facilities team actually manages our virtual space instead of our IT group as far as like what that space looks like, how it's designed, the number of spaces collaboration versus for focus booths and those type of things, you know, how the place is decorated and all of those different things. Our facilities team actually handles the virtual space and what that looks like. What other questions do you folks have? We've had a lot of great conversation here this morning. Nobody's fallen asleep, which is good. Yeah. We don't, and that might be a byproduct of us interacting so frequently, even virtually, because we do sometimes meet in person. Like for instance, if we have like a senior leadership group all together, you know, at one of our facilities, we'll meet in person, right? We're not going to be all at a facility and then go into the virtual office to meet. We just set ourselves as do not disturb and say we're at the facility that day, right? Similar to how we saw Jake, who said he was at the Digital Equity Center showroom floor, we would say like, hey, we're at the Los Angeles facility. And you know, while we're in that meeting, we would just be on do not disturb. Yeah, I saw a hand here. Yes, so the way that our organization works, we have one facilities person who's actually remote, is the leader of the group, and they kind of go back and forth between the facilities, but most often they're remote, and then they have associates on site at the two facilities to do the in-person things. And so we have a remote facilities person who manages all our facilities. We have the one in Los Angeles, one in Detroit, and we have a store area in Detroit and an office in New York. So they have to manage all of those spaces. Yeah, this was because they used to have offices of people that they manage in these spaces. It was kind of a natural transition of, hey, they don't have to manage that office space in Los Angeles anymore. Now they have the virtual office space to manage. Yeah. In regards to the virtual facility. Yeah, because Because our facilities manager manages both the physical and the virtual. The virtual is just an additional thing that they've added on. And so when it comes to the virtual space, it is that. Like recently, we were working on a particular grant opportunity that we just needed more co-working space. And so we had them like, hey, you need to redesign the space to give us more co-working space that is specifically designed for that, so that we have meetings. We had meeting rooms and we had focus booths, but we didn't have like co-working spaces where people would just go and it's kind of like a bullpen situation where everyone's just working from the area and has everything open and working together. So we had them add that. So it's, adding spaces, removing spaces. This is our third or fourth iteration of a facility because we went from only 20 people in one floor, and then we started adding the other groups, so we have to add those other floors in, and now we're actually considering trying to get everyone onto one floor and looking at what that looks like and seeing how then the interaction changes, because right now we have like Los Angeles and Detroit segregated from our our hybrid staff, and we're thinking, hey, what would that be like combining them all? So then they would be in charge of working through some of those challenges and designing the spaces. Yeah, so they do have some pre-builts that you can use, but that's a total hybrid space for us. We've designed that from the ground up. And so that would be their role, is to design, do we have a lobby? Do we not have a lobby? What kind of information is in that lobby? Are we using the elevators or not? And that kind of stuff, yeah. Yeah. When our network goes down. Like as an individual? Because it's the same as like a Microsoft Teams or something else, right? It's a cloud-based service. So like if someone individually, if they've lost internet, they've lost internet, right? If our facility loses internet, then it's lost internet. We've got to get that back up. Yes, yeah. So it's just we've never had an issue where it wasn't running. If you mean if like someone took away the office? Right, if somebody hacked or whatever. Yeah, hacked the third-party company. Yeah, and I think that's one of the challenges, right, with going to a hybrid space or a virtual office, is, as I mentioned, you kind of open yourself up to potential cybersecurity attacks. Yeah. All right, I'm going to take maybe one more because I know I'm very close to time. I'm getting the signals to wrap it up. Yeah. Yeah, so the way that we have it is our IT team is responsible for like the security of our platforms and the security of our applications, but our facilities team is responsible for the design of the space. Yeah. Cool. Well, hey, thank you all so much. It was a pleasure speaking with all of you today. Feel free. Yes, thank you guys. Have a great rest of your day.